Welcome to Cosmetic Podcast.
This podcast amplifies the topics you want to hear about.
Cosmetic means being a person or thing that gives rise to a phenomenon that is dynamic or energizing.
Globally minded and locally focused.
I'm Keith Benson.
And I'm Rodrigua.
So today we're talking about the circle of life. This whole thing of importance of having a network that will help lift you up, someone to celebrate you, someone to inform you and just push you just a little bit more so you can get better. And so when it comes to health, most of us know the basics, right? So like eat nutrition, rich food, and all that kind of good stuff. Get that 30 minutes of exercising. Been a little light on that here lately, given that COVID is in place. But we also drink a whole lot of water.
Speak for yourself, Key. Don't imply all of us have been a little light. But go ahead.
Okay, you know that's one of those places that we can't go. But since you went there,
we cannot. You're right. We cannot.
But more research is revealing the fact that overall wellness is this journey, right? And so this part of that journey is this importance of friendship. So today with this circle of life, Rod, I'm gonna let you introduce our guest for us today.
I am so excited. So this is our first opportunity to not only do an audio podcast, but a video podcast. And it is only fitting that I have the most beautiful women on the planet to kick off our video podcast. Joining me today, thank you, my loves, is my circle of life. We have Stephenie Smith, who is the co-founder of Sophic Solutions in Kansas City. We have the lovely, my fire princess, Lucria Ortiz, mi hermana. Did you hear me, girl, when I said that? She is the president and CEO of the Yonkers Y. We have the wonderful Heather Worthy-Wilson, who is the vice president of Healthy Lifestyles at the YMCA of Central Maryland. Happy birthday, beautiful. We have the lovely, our sweet spirit, Angelique Williams, who is the regional director at the Red Cross in Kansas City, and the one and only newly minted CEO of Wonderspring in Philly, Zakiyyah Boone. This is my circle of life, Keith. These are the ladies that give me life. They hold me up. They laugh at my jokes. They let me be extra and wear sequins in the day. And they get all the way together when I start running amok. So this is my circle of life. Thank you, ladies, for joining us today.
Thank you.
I am so excited. I've admired many of you all just from afar and up close from different projects that we worked on. My sister Angie, she's that one that just keeps things in line, and then Lucria, she's just out there on fire. So we got a lot that's going on in our society right now. You guys are all over the place in terms of the United States, and you see some of this stuff. Tell me, what are you seeing in your community right now?
Lucria, she is our community organizer. She is a fire. Give it to him, Lucria. What are you seeing in our community?
Well, I've been talking about a lot this shift that I've been seeing in the crack in the universe that happened when George Floyd died. So not only am I seeing people actively talking about anti-racism, but people are really starting to shift the paradigm and look at their relationship to Blackness. All people are looking at their relationship to Blackness, right? Blackness is becoming the norm. And that to me is something that I've been waiting for a long time. Because as you can see, I've kept close to Blackness all of my life. As an Afro-Latina, I've never drawn that line. I've always been close to it. So I'm seeing white people, Asian people, immigrants, LGBTQ really looking at their relationship and proximity. And that's the shift that we need. So that's what I'm seeing, y'all.
Yes.
Angie, you with the Red Cross. I mean, and you guys see things from this whole different lens. What is the Red Cross seeing right now?
Oh, that's an excellent question. From this service aspect of how we've been impacted, I think it's helped us as an organization to start to realize disaster strikes everywhere, and it just strikes anyone, correct? But even in that, there's still some disparity in how we prepare, and serve communities of color. And so I think this has made the Red Cross kind of look at that a little bit differently. They initially thought, oh, well, we help everybody.
Right.
No one's immune.
Right.
But yet, in order to help people effectively and an equitable way, you have to have a mindset in your preparedness as well. So I think that's the lens that we now have an opportunity to look through.
Yeah.
Now, a couple times y'all touched on like the support, and I know you guys had this camaraderie between you all. Talk to me about how have you guys how have you guys helped each other during this time right now?
So we have this running group chat, and on any given day, the subject matter can go from how we're gonna save the world to how did Jada and August get in an entanglement, right? Like our conversations are like this podcast, global, right? Like they touch on everything. But I think the other thing, at least for me, what this circle does is it just kind of, that is the space that I can go to and I can share. And I know that those sisters are unequivocally going to celebrate. There's no low-key shade. There are no ulterior motives. Like, we are genuinely happy for one another when wonderful things happen. We genuinely just share, and when things aren't that great, like, this is the space where we can have diverging thought, and we may not agree, but we love each other through it, and we can dance even when our feet hurt.
Yeah.
Really bad.
That is a literal statement.
I know that takes us to a story, so we're not gonna go there, okay? Because I know part of that right there. So, birthday girl, talk to us today. How's your day going, and how your sister's supporting you?
My day is going great. I got up, took my baby to school, which is finally back open. I went to the gym, worked out. So that's why I couldn't agree with you in the beginning, because I got my workout in today. And yeah, it's been great. I got my red cup, which isn't in screen right now, so it's a good day. But yeah, turning
PTO,
40 today.
right?
Yeah, turning 40
Okay.
today.
All right. I just want to clarify.
I am off today. No, it's not every day, right, that you can have a group of ladies that are Black, brilliant, and beautiful all in one. I mean, it's crazy. I mean,
B3, I like that.
Yeah, and there's a lot of us. So for those people who think there's only one Black beautiful woman in the world, here you go. Like, that is patently untrue. You see 6 right now.
I mean, you really could tell, and we're all connected in some different way. And that, I think it was that last Emily in Seattle, we all just came together. I mean, we were all connected separately in a different way, and then we just came together. And I think it started from me being like, hey, let's go on a trip. And then the group chat started, and we've been going ever since. And so it's always a good thing when you can get with people who actually are like-minded, but we're different in many different ways. We all have many different qualities about us that not only we're not a supplement for one another. We're a complement for one another, and that is it. Take that, Rod. I saw you shaking your head on that one. But yeah, it's great, and people should be jealous of this fire.
Okay. Now we got Z. You're a new CEO. Congratulations on that right there. That's just wonderful right there. We need more people of color up at the top in those decision-making seats. I mean, what would you say? I mean, you was in the YMCA outside of Y to get that step up. Like, what's that experience knowing that you had to go out of the Y in order to get to that seat?
I think that the Y built for me a very strong foundation of being consciously competent in my leadership abilities. So way back from, I want to say 2014 or 2015, when Angie was my coach in EPI, and I had absolutely no confidence in anything that I could do. Like, I totally didn't believe in myself at all. She helped to pull me out of my shell, and then I was able to have some experiences that helped me to determine, like, oh, I do know what I'm doing a little here. I can make decisions that are meaningful and powerful. And so having that experience at the Y and being able to bring my talents, my personality, my support system, to put me in this role. Even Stephenie was giving me coaching tips about how to negotiate my salary agreement. We just had, everyone was just very supportive in this circle. And I think the Y is where that all began. However, for many of us, it's expanded well beyond the walls of the YMCA. So it's great to be able to take what I got at the Y and spread it across my community to the many children who depend on us.
Awesome. So that new salary, I heard that, we are in this annual campaign. Don't forget about that time right there.
Listen, Texas already. I already sent my money to Texas because one of my mentees, Steve, is an exec down there, and he's drafting my account every month. So Texas already getting what y'all getting from me for the annual campaign.
Now, my sister, Miss Smith, you are out there talking to many different companies. You and your husband have a thriving consultant company out there, talking to a lot of nonprofits. I see you online everywhere, just doing your thing. Talk to us about what are organizations feeling right now? How are you supporting them?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, organizations are feeling the need to step up and to be responsible. And back to what Lucria said about Blackness, even analyzing what does that look like within their space, because historically there has been this anti-Blackness that has really permeated every system, as racism has. And so what I've been really encouraged by, and shout out to Rodney, that's my partner in life. And
see how she is cheesing so hard. That's so cute.
No, but he's an anchor to this work. But I mean, we're really seeing this need for a common language and a shared perspective to be able to move towards collective impact. I think for so long, it's kind of been everywhere, all over the place, not really understanding what racism is, not really understanding how to be and to be an anti-racist, not really understanding that equity is about changing systems, because we could get all these buzzwords and we start throwing them around, putting them in statements. But this is the time of really being able to show up in our actions. And so it's been really encouraging to see organizations take those steps towards it, but we know that it takes so much more. And so how do we create this collective impact and bring people together? So that's why what everybody is doing in all the varying ways that it's happening, it all comes together for this positive change, this shift in the atmosphere. And so we're excited and really privileged to be a part of it.
So what are you all hopeful, any one of you all can chime in, what are you all hopeful that will help make that shift?
I'm
continued attention.
Yeah. And I'm hopeful that the
attention that our issues are getting right now is at a level where it's never been. Everyone is hyper aware of the need for change, and everyone is, even if they're just doing it for perception's sake, it's still getting done. Changes are being made. Issues are being discussed openly that we used to have to keep a lid on, or we used to have to try to temper or say the appropriate thing, but now issues are at the forefront. And so that attention is going to, we're able to take advantage of that to bring about meaningful change. That is majorly different. And it is, we got to take that power and use it for all it's worth.
Yeah. So Rodney, you're going to chime in. Rod, I'll let you chime in. And I got another question I want to follow up about that meaningful change.
Yeah, so I echo that. I think that the energy is different. I think that people, really are embodying this idea of not this time, like we are over it. To some degree, the politeness, right? The political correctness in the conversation is gone. It's like we have tried polite, we have tried politically correct. It didn't seem to work. And so here we go. Enough is enough. And I feel like we have to keep the continuity of that energy in order for things to really change. Like this is a 400+ year problem in the making. It's not going to change because we had a hot summer of 3 months of discourse and disruption, and now the world is fine. Like it's going to take us to sustain this energy for a long period of time to see some real change.
Yeah.
Who else want to chime in on that? I think Angie was about to say something.
No, I was just agreeing with my sister. I think Priya had something she wanted to share.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to see the what I find heartening is the younger generation. So Generation Z and the millennials, they've showed us a different kind of movement and how they deconstruct binaries. So that generation has really taught us, in the LGBTQ movement, has really put in our face how to deconstruct gender. So I've really learned that from that generation. But now they're deconstructing the black-white binary. They're deconstructing race for us in a way that we haven't seen before. And I'm stepping aside and I want that voice to be heard.
Yeah.
Because that generation is actually the most multicultural generation that we've ever had. So they were looking at the world completely differently. And I'm hoping our older leaders push back and let that voice be heard. They're going to take over very soon. And the way that they're going to take over, I think, is going to be much more powerful.
Right.
Yeah.
And if I can, I did want to just make one correction. I'm the vice president of operations and lead health equity work.
Yes, girl. I apologize.
And I want to just make sure that one of the things that I'm confident that will change is that health is not about the treadmill and the fitness center anymore. And I think that if they're smart, which some are, some aren't, but if they're smart, they'll recognize that. And I think the health equity, the real health equity work, when we talk about access to healthcare and all of these other things, that workforce development, trauma-informed care, I think all of those things at this moment have bubbled up in a positive way that we can actually start making some of those changes, and the Y can get out of that transaction model, because if they don't, we're not going to be here. And so I'm encouraged, at least at the Y in Central Maryland, that health equity is literally on the chart of work. Right. And we're moving that forward. And that was not the case, I don't believe, before. It was kind of in the background, but now, post George Floyd's murder and before that, let's be honest about it, disparities and inequities were happening before COVID and all of that.
Absolutely.
But now it's just on 10,000, and people are really seeing that we have to make a shift in how we think about health if we want to survive and be relevant. And so I'm encouraged by that.
So let's stay on that right there. Stephenie, you had something?
Yeah, no, I just, because what I'm hearing from both of my sisters is really about behavioral change. And when we talk about this shift, we're talking about behaviors changing. And so the more and the better that we can leverage our social constructs to do the behavioral change, that's where we get the sustainability. It is within our circles, whether it's in your workplace, whether it's amongst your friendship group, where you worship or not worship, your community. That is where sustainable behavioral change happens. But we got to be focused on the behaviors. So when it goes back to our organizations, and even amongst us that hold one another accountable, we have to be tracking and looking at what are we doing differently? How are we hiring in a different way? How are we moving forward and determining pay in a different way? How are we defining health in a different way? And so it's the behavior change that we have to continue to track and to amplify the need for change of.
I mean, so what else is it in terms of when you say health equity? I know recently had two nephews that got sick. Both of them at that age that they can't be on their parents' insurance, and so they're just, out there now. I mean, how do we educate our community to let them know the resources that may be out there, places that they can contact, or things that they need to do?
Well, one thing I will say, and thank you for bringing this up, Keith, in Missouri, in the state of Missouri, August 4th, Medicaid expansion will be on the ballot. So within all of our respective areas. And so once again, if you're in the Missouri area, we encourage you to vote yes on Amendment 2. This is really important because this is about, once again, the behavioral change, what we are doing differently. And what we're finding is that this gap of the have and have nots is growing wider and wider. And so access to healthcare is extremely important. We know that preventative care is the primary type of care that we need to have. And so when you talk about what happens as young people begin to age out, or when job access is I mean, imagine what has happened to so many people and their insurance during this COVID era.
Right.
During the time that we needed access the most, many have been cut short and left behind. And so I think as a collective, we have to be thinking about that and within our own respective communities. So definitely in Missouri on August 4th, vote yes on Amendment 2.
Yeah.
So
Did you
all
want
of you
to
guys
add,
have
sir?
all y'all
Sorry to
have
cut
a
you off, Keith.
YMCA. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Rod.
I'm sorry. I thought Heather had something to add to that last comment.
Yeah, I also want to say, just working with the African American CEOs on the health disparities subcommittee, one thing that I continue to press on is it's not about the programs, right, that we have. It's about understanding, right, that as people of color, there is a major distrust with the healthcare system, hospitals, doctors. We're not represented, obviously, when we go, right? We don't see people that look like us. And the historical context around how our bodies have been used for research and without our permission, okay, is something that I always find I have to keep saying, like, go research Henrietta Lacks. Go research the Tuskegee Airmen experiment. Go research. I mean, it's endless, right? And a lot of those, like Henrietta Lacks, right? I mean, her cells are still being used to this day to prevent all of the things and stuff that we don't get, right? Polio, HIV, all these things. And her family never saw a dime. So I think that understanding we can create any program we want. We can talk about prevention, we can talk about all that stuff, but if there's a distrust in a community, they are not going to go to the doctors. And that's why I think it's critical, especially in this day and age and this time with COVID, that the Y shifts gears to start really partnering with hospital systems and getting them into our Y, getting them connected, because otherwise, you're talking about access issues, you're talking about transportation issues to get somewhere, and you're talking about people that they don't trust, quite frankly. And so, I'll say it again, the why, you cannot create programs and think people are going to come. It is deeper than that. And so I think education is critical, and knowing that is critical to move forward.
Yeah.
Education and relationships.
Yeah.
And the one thing that the Y really taught me how to do and to value was building relationships.
Absolutely.
People will come and do things with people that they trust and that they have a relationship with. And that is where equity can begin to be built. So how do we know? Equity means everyone gets what they need. How do we know what anyone needs if we don't have a relationship with them that's helping to inform those programs that we're out here creating? And so it's really important that as we look at equity and making sure that everyone has what they need, that we build relationships with them first to inform those programs, those practices, that fundraising strategy, whatever it may be. The relationship is where it all begins.
That's right.
Yeah. So I know you see why, Keith, and you're not gonna say here, I understand, but I know you see why my circle, my fire is hotter than your fire. I know.
I tell you what, y'all on fire. Y'all are on fire. I cannot deny that at all. I cannot deny what. So before we close out, I want to all you guys to take this turn here, and whoever wants to start first, that's fine. But what's the message that you have towards our young people, whether that be the female, whether that be the male? What is the message that you would have to them?
That's a good question. Because I'm part of that young people crew, so let me think through that a little bit.
I know that's right, girl.
Yeah, I knew it was coming, right? I knew that was coming. I'm a part of that young people.
I am the
crew.
young people, okay?
Yes, I'm a young people. So there's that.
Yes, age is just a number.
Yeah.
But back to the question, because we don't want to go off into fantasy land. Lucria, why don't you start with us?
It's a deep and powerful question, because all of us here have a young person just within our homes that we are watering daily, right? And so there is so much that should be shared or needs to be shared within our homes first and then to our communities. And so I find myself swaying back and forth on what's the most critical, important need day to day with young people. I think the thing that I probably say the most to my 19-year-old is be sure to take the time to understand, at least understand where people are coming from and what all this history is behind you.
Right.
Because his perspective, as Lucria talked about earlier, our young people are those that are going to lead us, as we all know, but they will lead in an exceptional way.
Yeah.
But I think in order to do that, they do have to have an understanding of why we have all felt the way we felt for years and years.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
So I would just leave it to that one point because I know there are going to be 5 other points that build on mine. But I would say recognize the past and utilize it as you make decisions for the future.
Awesome. Okay. Lucria?
I would build on that. That understanding is so important. I think for me, I tell my teenagers that when you are in a room and you hear something that strikes you, take a moment, right? Let it sit, but speak on it. If you are moved and you feel uncomfortable and you're sweating, that means you've had a visceral reaction to something that was said and your voice needs to be heard. There have been plenty of times where I've been in that moment and I didn't say anything. So I want them to learn that that reaction necessitates voice and it necessitates theirs. So that's what I would say.
Preach.
Love it.
Preach. Great. Z, what about you?
I would say work hard, be nice. It is very important for our young people that they actually do the work and that there is some content to their passion and their zest and their energy. There's got to be some substance to that. So you've got to do the work. You've got to know your stuff. Work hard, right? And it also matters how you treat people, especially people that you may one day need to cross their path again.
Yeah.
So it matters how you treat people. The reputation that you build for yourself matters. You don't want people to say bad things about you because it can be counterproductive towards your goal.
That's right.
So I would say work hard. Like, yes, be great, be out there, do you, but have some substance and be careful about what you leave behind, the taste that you leave in somebody's mouth at the end of the day. Be mindful of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stephenie?
I would say, because I have 2 teenagers, a daughter that's going off to Howard, and then, yes, come on, Howard, HBCU pride. So I'd say, and also my 13-year-old son, that it's in you. I think so often when we are in search of our purpose and good works and good efforts, we look outside and or even when we're looking for things or being to be validated, it comes from the outside, but it is in you. God has deposited so many great things in us. And so to just be reminded that it is in you. And then the second piece is that people need people. I mean, Z hit it perfectly. People need people. So understand the value of relationships, right? And the power that that brings to our lives and the power that you can then bring to somebody else's life because relationships. So it's in you and people need people.
Yeah.
Heather?
I have a couple of things. I mean, I think I'm known in this group for telling the truth all the time.
Well, won't she do it, y'all? Won't she do it? Yeah.
So my thing, especially I have an 11-month-old, almost 1-year-old next month, another Leo, by the way. And I would tell her, always tell the truth. I mean, just tell the truth. It might hurt, but tell the truth. The second thing I would say is, as a leader, you can have unity without necessarily having consensus. And when you become a leader with a high power title or whatever you want to call it, you need to lead from the position of people and not power, because you'll get a lot further. People will respect you. And if you can't do that, then you need to get out of the way so somebody else can lead in that manner.
Mhm.
And the final thing that I would say is, it's life isn't fair, right? You're just gonna have to grind, and you're gonna have to work for everything that you get. But understand that it's not about who you know, it's about who knows you. And you can either be an asset or a liability in an organization. And you definitely don't want to be uh, a liability. So understand that you can know whoever you want, but if they don't know you, if you have not put yourself out there, if you've not spoken the truth, if you do not pick up things that potentially aren't part of your job description and show that you can lead from many different seats, you're not going to be heard, and you're really just going to be irrelevant and become a liability. So when it comes time for cuts and this and that, you're on the chopping block because you brought nothing else to the table other than your little line, right? That you want to keep, that little bubble you want to keep yourself in. And so those are my things. I was sorry I had to say it, all of that, because it was burning in my spirit, right?
All right.
It was burning.
Yes.
Rodrigua, close us out.
So I think that I would add, what my elders told me, simply when you know better, do better, right? You can make a mistake every day. That's how you learn. Nobody just picks up and just does something. But don't make the same mistake. Like, that's a choice at that point, to keep doing the same thing over and over again. And so I tell my children all the time, when you know better, you absolutely have a responsibility to do better. So I am going to do my best today to thank these wonderful ladies for joining us on our podcast today, Circle of Life, the importance of having that network, those people that hold you up. Also, our inaugural video podcast, so be on the lookout for that. I guess, thank you, Keith, for being a moderator. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
But
Keith.
most of all,
Thank you, Sarah.
to all of our folks, thank you for listening to the Cosmetic Podcast,
where our conversations are global,
globally minded and locally focused.
Check us out on ymcadallas.org/cosmetic.
And leave us some remarks about why circles of life are important to you. And as always,
Stay dynamic,
stay energized,
stay cosmetic.
Whoop, whoop.